What's up, everybody? This is GameGeek97 here, coming at you with another video review, and today we'll be taking a look at the NECA Friday the 13th Part 2 Ultimate Jason Voorhees. Now, this has been a figure I've been wanting to have for quite a while. It's probably been on like one of my bucket list figures. This figure has been released multiple times, but I just have never been able to get my hands on it. Until recently, it was restocked at my local Target, and here he is. Now, honestly, this is one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies of the entire series. So, of course, I wanted to have a figure of this. Like, this is definitely my top 3 favorite movies of the series, alongside Part 6 and Part 4. So, therefore, like, I had to have this figure. So, here he is. Starting off with the packaging, it's the stereotypical packaging that you get here for the Ultimate figures. It has the poster for the movie, body count continues, Friday the 13th Part 2. Of course, there's like a silhouette of Jason somewhat. On this side, I got a picture of Jason. Of course, Friday the 13th Part 2. Of course, NECA Real Toys. On the top, usual stuff there. On the bottom, just the usual, like, credits, like who sculpted it, who painted it, all that stuff. There, because you open it up there. There's the figure. And there's a picture of the figure. And on the back, just a couple poses of the figure with some of the different weapons and accessories. A little description about the movie itself. You can pause right there if you want to read. And of course, down below we got a photo from the film. They're basically the shrine that Jason has for his mom. And then just what it includes. It includes machete, pitchfork, pickaxe, knife, spear, campfire, Pamela head, and interchangeable Jason heads. That's it for the package. So let's open up Jason and see what we have here. We'll be right back. All right, so here's Jason out of his packaging, and this figure rocks. So far, I'm loving this figure. It's not perfect. I actually have a few issues with it. It's mainly with stability and articulation, but I'll get into it later on. And also a couple paint issues, but I'll get into it later on. But let's get right into it. First up is accessories. Comes a pretty decent amount, but there's a couple accessories I'm surprised he did not come with. He comes with an alternate head, which I'll get into later on. But probably one of the coolest accessories he comes with is the Pamela head. Love the sculpting and detail on it. Like, that's really well done. Of course, his weapons. We got a knife. I like that kind of like the rusty feel look to the blade. Of course, we get a pickaxe, which I think this is the most common weapon he used in the movie, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a little bit since I've seen the movie, but I remember him using this the most. It does have a little bit of blood splatter on it. First, we get his machete, trusty machete. Pitchfork. Again, looks like, I love the rusty look to it. And finally, the spear. Surprised how long it was. Wow. Yes, there's his weapons. This was probably the coolest accessory he came with. Like, I was surprised they actually did this. The campfire. Like, I love the way they did this. And a slight color difference compared to one of the earlier releases. It was almost like a brownish color. This one's more gray, which is more realistic. And it does have a detachable flame accessory. Now, this looks like it could be detached. Looks like it's pegged in or glued in here, so it does wiggle around a little bit. And again, the flame one's actually a little tricky. You just gotta you gotta really get it just right. You really gotta line it up just right in order to attach it. So it is pretty tricky to get that lined up just right. I love the sculpting and the painted detail on the rocks and the branches or firewood. Very well done. And the flame, it's what we're used to. It looks very similar to the flame accessory that came with Freddy Krueger from Freddy's Revenge from the second movie. So, like, the very similar plastic. And I think it's all right. Personally, I would give it like a darker color, in my opinion. Like, that's just what I would do. Of course, does come with an alternate head with the unmasked head without the sack. Now, even though this is one of my favorite movies, like top 3 favorite movies of the series, this features probably one of my least favorite unmasked Jason looks. I don't know, I just don't care for this face. I mean, the head sculpt is fine. Like, honestly, I think it's a good head sculpt for like a good representation of Jason from this movie. Like, I'm just telling you that I just don't care for this look of Jason with the long hair and kind of the weird, the way his eyes are. I don't know, it just doesn't look right to me. They could have done a little better job with the design. Like I said, Neca did a good job with the head sculpt. I'm just talking about the design for the movie. I just didn't care for it. I would say the best unmasked look for Jason would to be either, I think it was part 4 and part 7, in my opinion. Like I said, the head sculpt was fine. I just don't care for the design. Now on to Jason himself, starting off with the head sculpt with the sack on his head, which I think very well done. Again, looks a little dirty. Of course, got the eye peeking through, which I'm going to tell you a little funny story here. Watching, like when I binge watch these movies from back to back, whenever there's a jump scare in these movies, this version of Jason actually gets the most, like, reaction out of me with the jump scares. Like, it, like, scares me the most with the jump scares. When he looks like this, when he has the hockey mask on, it doesn't faze me that much. So that's kind of funny, honestly. Anyway, so very well done on the sack on his head. Very well done. I moved down to the shirt. Slight color difference compared to the original release of this figure. I think it was like a brighter color, but I'm glad it's darker because I think it's more accurate to the movie. Just nicely well done on the shirt. That with the buttons and the color. Looks pretty well done. And the rest of his outfit, again, looks pretty good too. I like the wrinkles on it. And a little dirt on the pockets on the back there. Again, very well done. And then the boots, could have added a little bit more dirt to the boots, but it's okay. Now, one complaint issue I would say is I had this problem with the Ultimate Chucky, and that's whenever they did this, like a plaid shirt or something, or it's just like a lot of color on the arms, like whenever you would bend the elbow, like all this would scrape right off. So I would say definitely be aware of that if you're constantly posing this figure. Like I said, I had that problem with Chucky. Like already just from bending the elbow, like all that lines right there, that is gonna come right off. Just from me bending the elbow and putting in poses. Even if I leave it alone, even if I bend the elbow and just leave it alone, I guarantee if I leave it like this for like a week or some of that, I straighten the arm again, all that is gonna rub right off. Because like I said, I had that happen with my Chucky. So kind of afraid to pose him a little bit. Whereas the hands look pretty decent, again, with the blood splatter on it. I'm surprised he did not come with any interchangeable hands, but I don't think he really needed to, because they're just like grips. I think it could work for any of his weapon accessories. So maybe that was the logic behind it. I don't know, I'm just surprised, because usually these NECA figures, they come with like a crap load of hands. But this one, no. We just get an extra head, but no extra hands. And of course, obviously, the bunch of weapons. And of course, the Pamela head. Because the rest of the outfit looks fine, honestly. Articulation standard for these NECA figures. However, with this particular look for Jason, the articulation is somewhat limited and hindered somewhat. Head can rotate side to side, but it can't really move because of just the way the sack on his head is sculpted. So that's a little disappointing. But you don't really need it. Arms rotate 360, can go in and out, bend at the elbow, turn at the elbow, which is nice. Rotate the wrist. Kind of, I think the hand's on a ball joint, I believe, so it's kind of like a hinge somewhat, so you can move it all over the place. Has the upper torso joint, which I'm surprised it's not hindered by the straps here, so I like that. Nothing in the waist, really. And people like to call this the NECA diaper, because like the rubber material here on the pelvic, but it allows the legs to go forward and back, in and out. Single joint in the knee. Kind of wish it was double jointed, both for the elbows and knees. Bend the knee, turn the knee, and the shoe can, his boot can kind of move, rotate a little bit, and go up and down slightly, but it's hindered by his pants or the bottom of his outfit. It's just kind of hindered. Like I said, these joints are very stiff, and just the articulation is somewhat hindered. So that's kind of a shame. Also, he's a pain in the butt to stand up, so I had to use these NECA display stands. You can buy like a whole pack of these at Target. I think it's like $10. You can get like 10 of these stands. Like, I cannot get him to stand up. Like, some of these figures, oh, now he stands up. And he falls over. Of course. All right, now he stands up. Just that a lot of these figures, I just cannot seem to get them to stand up. That's why I'm glad I bought these stands. It doesn't matter what figure I buy from NECA, I always have a problem having them stand up. So I really need these stands, and I'm glad I bought them. Anyways, so overall, despite, like I said, the paint issues I'm worried about with the arms, and of course the stability and minor problems with the articulation, especially because how stiff it is and also kind of hindered in some areas. Honestly, awesome figure. One of my favorite NECA figures from one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies. Quick final thoughts on Jason. Overall, I'd say this figure pretty much rocks. Honestly, one of my favorite figures that NECA has done, based on one of my favorite horror movies and one of my favorite movies from this franchise, honestly. Granted, this figure's not perfect. My issues with the figure is, as I mentioned, I'm worried about the paint, like scraping off on the arms with posing, because like I said, I had that problem with Chucky. Of course, the stability issue is kind of a pain in the butt to stand up, and also the articulation issue I mentioned, just very stiff joints, and they're somewhat hindered in certain areas. I don't know, they just need to do something different a little bit. Because it's not just this figure, because I've had it with a lot of figures from NECA. So they need to figure out something new. But I would say, despite its flaws, this is still a really nice figure. I'm glad this figure has been re-released multiple times, because this figure definitely skyrockets sometimes. Like once it sells out and it's gone for a while, the price of it skyrockets. So I'm glad that my Target restocked this and I was able to get it. Because as I mentioned, this is one of my favorite movies from the series, top 3. And this figure is awesome, very excellent despite its flaws. So I'd say for Jason Voorhees and Friday the 13th fan and collector, I would say this might be one of the must-have figures. And I think it might be underrated because I don't see people talk about that much. They mainly talk about part 4 or part 3 or something, but they don't talk about this one really as far as the figures go. So I would say this is a figure you definitely want to add to your collection. So pick it up if you can. Anyways, thanks so much guys. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to ring that bell so you don't miss a single review. And stay tuned for more reviews, not just other NECA and horror film figure reviews, but also Star Wars, Funko Pops, Monster High, Marvel Legends, DC Multiverse, and so much more. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Anyways, thanks for watching guys. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, remember, you can't touch my dream and you can't touch my soul. I'm out. Take care guys. Bye.